Hey folks, okay, so a worker asked this kid one time if he would like to come to work with him. The kid then said that he wishes he could, but it's none of his business. Thank you, I'll be here all night. Doing this video, that is. You see, stand-up comedians are interesting kinds of human beings, aren't they? Their style of comedy, whatever it is what kept audiences laughing for huge amounts of time. They can even become actors in movies or shows or whatever to either make people laugh on screen, get them invested in their characters they play, or both. They never stop coming, and as a result, we never stop coming back. I feel that a good example in media that shows what comedians are all about is with one episode of the Disney cartoon show Recess. The episode is called Stand Up Randall. Enjoy the show! In this episode, TJ Detweiler and the Losers Club, gang, are just chillaxing on some grass when Gus looks through his empty paper towel roll for any major events for them to see. He notices Artie Kid painting a beautiful painting until Randall tattles on him to Miss Finster, who then tells him to go get a hose to wash the painting off and pick something good from last year's Lost and Found box as a reward. In the box, Randall eventually discovers a joke book that he decides to keep because he thinks that a kid like him could use a few laughs. He likes it and uses his memory of the jokes in the book to become a successful playground comedian. Everyone in the playground, aside from TJ and the gang, find every joke he says funny until he runs out of material. Desperate to become funny again, Randall sees Mikey, the fat kid of TJ's gang, trying to catch a butterfly, but ultimately catches his head in his own net. A little girl who saw that finds that funny, and this causes Randall to make jokes that have to do with Mikey. The kids find him funny again, and even Mikey himself doesn't mind that. At first. Randall's Mikey jokes eventually does end up hurting him, which frustrates the gang, as they want to know how Randall became a comedian all of a sudden. Just then, a student named Menlo, who was with Randall at the Lost and Found earlier, explains to them that he was stealing the humor from a joke book this whole time. This gives TJ a plan to end Randall's insulting stand-up routine once and for all, with Mikey being the star. They start their plan as Randall does his latest stand-up performance. Their plan is to have their own joke books to finish the latest Mikey joke that he's trying to tell. They even tell their own jokes to make Randall not alone in the performance. The crowd leaves and he scolds the gang for ruining his career. Vince, the most physically fit member of TJ's gang, says that it was all well and good until Randall started hurting Mikey's feelings. And TJ says that at that point, they had to end it. Yeah, Joker might bleep. Randall then begins to tattle to Miss Finster that TJ ruined his popularity, and the episode ends with TJ saying that that's funny, even though we don't know what's so funny about that and what happens to him after Randall tells on him. Isn't comedy magical? Good! This episode actually has 2 life lessons going for it. 1. If you're becoming a comedian, don't steal other jokes and call them your own unless you have permission to give credit. And 2, don't tell mean jokes about someone just to make other people laugh. It might hurt their feelings. Both of these morals are great, especially if you're becoming a comedian. The jokes in this episode are things you either get or do not. But the great thing about them is that the ones you don't get are subtle enough to where you would have to figure it out yourself. I mean, isn't that the point of comedy when it's good? Fun fact, actually, this episode actually has the most writers on board out of all the episodes of Recess, with 4 overall. Now, I haven't seen every episode of the show, but I still think I can tell from how I've never heard any of these jokes in this episode before. That's the power of using your noggin for ya. I also like the little girl who goes by Corn Chip Girl, who is the first student to laugh at Randall's jokes. I think she's cute and actually cares about other people's feelings. And of course, you still got Spinelli being as tough as ever. Can't go wrong with that. Bad! As for issues with this episode, well, there are a few animation errors here and there, but you would have to look really hard to notice them, so no big deal. I just wonder how come Menlo never told the students laughing at Randall's jokes that Randall himself is a scam earlier, only to tell the gang but that before the climax of this episode. They wear blue shirts, you know. And as I said before, what did TJ find funny about Randall telling on him for ruining his career? And what happened to TJ afterwards? I guess the latter can be left entirely up for debate. Oh, and this is a small nitpick, but this episode is called Stand Up Randall without a hyphen between stand and up. That's how the phrase is spelled, so what gives? So what's the punchline? Well, Stand Up Randall is a nice episode of Recess that knows what it's like to be a comedian when done right. It's not that bad of an episode if you could put up with any issues I may have had with it. If you want to see the episode for yourself, I'll leave a link in the description below. With that out of the way, I'm going to give this episode 4 fingers out of 5. Alright, that's it for my latest review. If you enjoyed it, please consider liking, commenting, subscribing, or whatever nice thing you want to do with it. I'm the Purple Mario, and mwah! Good night, everybody!